Hi, welcome to this SSRS tutorial video, and today we're going to look at formatting our cells based on values. We're going to add expressions to our cells so that they get formatted depending on other values in our report. As we've seen in previous videos, we've got options of formatting, so I can choose to change the background color of this cell here. If I select yellow and I preview it, it's going to make every cell in every row, in that column rather, yellow, and that's fine, but really we want it to be a little bit cleverer than that. So I want to get rid of that yellow. What we want it to do is we want it to be a value, we want it to be a different color depending on values. So what we can do, if I click on this drop down here, we've got these options. I just want to hover over these options of colors here, and when we hover over a particular color, you'll see a little tooltip pops up and says what color it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on expression here. This takes me to this expression window. By default, it's got this no color because that is what is currently set up. If I were to select yellow and then go to my expression here, it would say yellow because that's currently what is set as the background color. However, we don't want to do that. We want to create an expression to do this. So to do that, we need to begin with equals. When you write an expression, you begin with equals, and we've got all sorts of operators that we can use down here and functions. And I'll look at those things in a different video. What we're going to look at here is a basic if statement. And for those who aren't sure what an if statement is, you basically ask a true or false question, and then you do one action if it's true and one action if it's false. So usually in programming, an if statement begins with if. However, in SSRS, it begins with if. Then we start with a bracket, and we get this little tooltip here saying, right, I need the true or false equation, if you like. Then I need what to do for true and what to do for false. What I want to say is, go to my dataset fields, select the field I'm interested in, which is sales year to date, double click that, and I want to say if my sales year to date value is greater than 1.5 million, then I put a comma. It takes me to the true element of this if statement. I'm going to say if it is, then orange, else blue. And if I click OK, and if I click preview, we should now see that depending on the value now it's orange or blue. Just as a quick side note, if I look at this value here that's SlateBlue, or maybe this one that's light blue, if I want to use one of those colors, I don't need the space. I do light blue like that, no space. If you put a space in, it won't work. Okay, that's pretty good. It's not just individual cells, you can put it on whole rows. So if I click on this row here, just to note, you've got a background color here, which is obviously the background, and this color element here is this color property is the foreground, the font color. So if I change the font here, I'm going to go to expression, and I'm going to say, let's get rid of black. I'm going to say if equals if. We'll do the same fields. So if this value, and we'll do the same value, is greater than 5, comma, we'll say yellow. Oops, if I can type yellow. Else black. And then remember, end bracket. If you don't put an end bracket, this will have a horrible red underline here because there's something wrong. When you complete it with an end bracket, it's happy with the format, and that will work. And now if I go back to here, see those fonts there. So let me now remove that formatting. We're going to move somewhere else, but before we do that, let's remove the formatting. To remove formatting from fore color from your font, you simply make it black. To remove the formatting from the background color, excuse me, if I click on that, you've got an option at the top here of no color. My graphics, it's not showing it properly, but you can see that little tick box here. It's no colour. If you tick that, it gets rid of the formatting completely. Now if I run that now, it'll just be plain black and white. That's very strange. Okay, now let's look at it being a little bit cleverer. So what I want to do is I want it to highlight cells based on this value, but I want to do it against the average. So I want to know how many rows I've got, and I also want to know what the sum of those rows is, and I want to use that in my expression. Now I was messing about before this video trying to get this to work, and I'll show you how I eventually kind of got the logic. So I'm going to insert a couple more columns because I was struggling a little bit getting the logic right, and sometimes SSRS is not the easiest way to kind of debug your expressions. So what I decided to do was create a couple of columns, and one I was going to put the sum total in, and one I was going to put the amount of rows in, and make sure that I was getting the right values, and I got it to work. So if I right click on this cell here and I choose expression, what I want to say here is equals sum, and I want to say, well, in fact, I can do it here, actually, I think it is. So if I click data sets rather than fields, if I click data sets and I see sum years to date, if I double click that, that's what I need there. So I'm going to click OK on that. And if I right click on here and I choose expression, this is my CountRows bit. And there is in common functions in aggregate, there is something called CountRows. And if I double click that, puts CountRows here, but also it tells me possible kind of ways of examples of use. What I'm going to say is I want to count rows in my data set, so I'm going to put data set 1 because that here you can see is the name of my data set. So if I click OK and I run that, that should work. Okay. Now if we look on the right hand side here, we can see that's the sum total, 36.2 million, and that is how many rows we've got, 17 rows. And if we add rows and we add more data, these figures will change. So now we know how to get those figures. We can use those figures now as our expressions. So I'm going to now come to here, and in the background property, background color property, I'm going to click on here. I'm going to click on expressions, and I'm going to say equals if. Now I know I can find the field here if I want to. So in the other examples I was finding the field and double clicking it, but you can type here. If we type fields and put an exclamation mark, it will then offer me the fields that are in the current data set, the fields available in this tablix. So I want to use my sales year to date. Then I need to put .value. That's important. So if you don't put that, it won't work. If I don't type that and I just double click this, it'll put it correctly with the .value, which is what I need. Then I'm going to put greater than, and this is where in the other example I put 1.5 million. So instead of that, I want to put in brackets sum fields sales year to date .value, and then I need to put my data set. Now I'm going to purposely make a mistake here. I'll show you that in a second. Divided by CountRows data set 1, that's the name of my data set. And I want to say that for the true element, I'm going to say SlateBlue, and for the false element, I'm going to say no color for the false part. I think that should work. Now this won't work, and I'm going to show you why in a second. But if I click OK on that and I click preview, the logic is right, but I've got an error here. And this error says the background expression for a text box has a scope parameter not valid in the aggregate function. Now let's try and work out what that means. So because I've been working on this previously, I did take a copy of the working expression, and I'm going to paste it below. So this is a working expression. And generally you look at it and you think, well, it's the same. I don't see what the problem is. And I'll show you what the problem is. It's that capital S This version of SSRS is case sensitive. This is an old version, it's version 2012. I don't know about later versions, but this is case sensitive. That capital S is required. That small s breaks it. If I get rid of that small s and put a capital S in there, this doesn't matter. SlateBlue can be little s, little b. Referencing fields and data sets, they've got to be, they are case specific, so capital D and capital S in this case. So if I now run that, what we should see is some of the values here are highlighted because they are above average. So that's pretty cool. That's working pretty well. So let me now just, as a last thing, one thing to note, I've been playing about with this field and I've been looking at the values in this field, but I don't need to put an expression based on its own value. So I'm going to go to job title here and I'm going to make this job title a different color based on the value of sales last year. But I want to have a couple of different options. So I don't just want to say it's either true or false. I want it to say do this color or do this color or do this color. So let us go to the background color and let us go to expression. We'll get rid of that and we're going to say equals, because it's got to begin with equals. If and I'm going to type this, fields sales last year dot value is greater than 1.5 million, then orange. This is the false part. Now in the false part we can say if fields sales dot value is greater than 1 million, blue, else red. Oops. One more bracket at the end. So what this is saying is we've got this if statement here. If it's greater than 1.5 million, make it orange. Otherwise, if it's greater than a million, make it blue. Otherwise, make it red. So if I click OK on that, and if I do a preview, so we now see, because I did it against the job title, based on the value of here, we can see those that are over 1.5 million are orange, those that are over a million or between a million and 1.5 million are blue, and the rest are red. That's the end of this video. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, that'd be appreciated. Any feedback is also appreciated, it helps me with my content. Thanks for watching, see you next time.